Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are literally leveling up your grammar skills. We're going on a journey, taking you from the absolute foundational basics of the past simple tense all the way up to those advanced, hypothetical situations that native speakers use every single day. So whether you're just starting out or you're looking to really polish up your fluency, this guide is going to lock these concepts right into your memory. Here is our roadmap for today's journey. We've got 5 levels to conquer. First, foundations of the past. Next, negatives and questions. Then, the tricky, to be, exception. After that, habits and unreal situations. And finally, the ultimate showdown, past simple versus present perfect.
All right, let's kick things off with Level 1, Foundations of the Past. Let's look at exactly when we actually need to use this tense in our everyday conversations.
So here's the absolute foundational building block. The past simple is exclusively for actions that are entirely finished. They started in the past, and yep, they ended in the past. They are 100% complete. Think of it like a game that's totally over. If you say, I played soccer yesterday, that game is done. If you say, she lived in Paris in 2010, well, that's a closed chapter. She doesn't live there now. It's all about boundaries that have already been crossed.
So how do we actually build this? Well, for most regular verbs in English, the rule is beautifully simple. You literally just add ed to the end of the base verb. Walk becomes walked, watch becomes watched, work becomes worked. It really is that easy. But, occasionally we do have to tweak this spelling just a tiny bit, like changing a Y to an I when we turn study into studied.
To ground that rule in reality, just look at how simple and effective this is in action. We walked to the park. You've got one subject, one verb with an ed slapped on the end, and boom, your listener instantly knows this is a completed event.
Now, to take all the guesswork out of spelling, there are really just 3 quick rules you need to memorize for these regular verbs. First, if the verb already ends in an E, like dance, you just tack on a D to make danced. Second, if it ends in a consonant plus Y, like cry, you change that Y into an I and then add ed to get cried. And finally, if it's a short consonant-vowel-consonant verb, a CVC, you just double that last consonant. That is exactly why stop gets a double P to become stopped.
But of course, English absolutely loves keeping us on our toes, right? So you're also going to need to memorize irregular verbs. These completely change their spelling instead of just taking an ed. Go becomes went, see becomes saw, have becomes had. Honestly, there is no magic trick here, it's just repetition. And keep in mind, whether they're regular or irregular, these verbs are almost always paired with finished time words. Words like yesterday, last night, or in 1999. These act as anchors, signaling to whoever is listening that the time period is officially closed.
All right, let's level up to intermediate. Level 2, negatives and questions. We know how to say what did happen, but let's figure out how to say that something didn't happen.
To make a negative sentence, we bring in our little helper verb did not, or the contraction didn't. But take a really close look at this contrast here, because this is literally the most common mistake learners make. The left side is correct. I didn't go to the party. The right side is absolutely incorrect. I didn't went to the party. So why is that right side so wrong?
Well, that brings us to a highly guarded grammar secret, the golden rule of the past simple. Once you use did or didn't, the main verb drops its past tense disguise completely. It reverts right back to its pure base form. You see, you've already indicated the past tense with the word didn't, so you definitely don't need to do it all over again with the main verb. It is, she didn't watch the game, never, she didn't watched.
So keeping that golden rule in mind, I just have to ask you, did you eat breakfast today? Notice what I did there. I started the question with did, and my main verb eat stayed perfectly in its base form. I definitely didn't ask, did you ate?
If we turn that into a simple equation, anytime you want to ask a yes or no question about a completed action, you just follow these 4 easy steps. Step 1, start with did. Step 2, add your subject, like you or they. Step 3, insert your base verb, like eat or finish. And step 4, ask away. Did they finish the project? It really is just that systematic.
We are making fantastic time, but heads up, every game has a boss level, and for the past simple, it's level 3, the tricky verb to be.
This verb is a massive exception to literally everything we've just talked about. It is the only verb that splits into 2 completely different forms, and it depends entirely on the pronoun you're using. If your subject is I, he, she, or it,
you've got to use was, like, I was tired. But if your subject is you, we, or they, you shift over to were. They were late.
And here is the real kicker, your big takeaway for this level. The verb to be completely ignores all our previous rules and never, ever uses did. No way. To make it negative, you just attach not directly to it. She wasn't home, or we weren't ready. And if you want to ask a question, you just flip the subject and the verb. Was he angry? Were you at the meeting? Just leave did completely out of it.
Okay, let's push forward to level 4, habits and unreal situations. We're officially entering advanced territory now where the grammar gets a whole lot more nuanced, subtle, and honestly a bit abstract.
So while the standard past simple can totally describe single events or even past habits, like saying, when I was a child, I walked to school every day, native speakers actually tend to prefer a different structure. We love using used to or would with the base verb. Why? Because it vividly emphasizes that a habit is permanently over. Saying, I used to walk to school but now I drive, creates a much sharper contrast between your past and your present reality.
But here is probably the most intriguing concept in our advanced section, the second conditional. In this structure, we actually use the past tense formula to imagine present or future situations. Sounds crazy, right? But the formula is simple. Step 1, if plus the past simple tense. Step 2, a comma, followed by would plus a base verb. We are using past tense grammar, but we are absolutely not talking about the past. This quote brilliantly illustrates that kind of unreal dream. If I had $1 million, I would travel the world. Now, you don't actually have the money right now in the present, but you intentionally use the past tense word had as a grammatical flag. It proves to your listener that you're just imagining it. It's a hypothetical, literally impossible situation in the present moment.
And well, if I were you, I'd pay close attention to this next formal exception. Remember earlier when we learned that I always goes with was? Well, in these unreal, imaginary conditional sentences, formal English demands that we use were for all subjects. That is exactly why you hear people say, if I were you, I would apologize, instead of if I was you. It acts as a special marker for the hypothetical.
All right, we've made it to the final stage, level 5, past versus present perfect. To truly master the past simple, we have to conquer the ultimate showdown. We need to know exactly when to use it instead of the present perfect.
This fundamental contrast really just boils down to time. You absolutely must use the past simple when the exact specific time of the event is known, mentioned, or even just implied. I saw that movie yesterday. Yesterday is a specific closed box. Conversely, you use the present perfect, which is have or has plus a past participle, when the time is entirely unspecific. I have seen that movie. When? It honestly doesn't matter. The focus is purely on your life experience up to this exact moment. Let's look at our final comparison to see how this builds into an incredible nuance. Check out this vivid contrast. Shakespeare wrote many plays versus Stephen King has written many books. We use the past simple for Shakespeare because, well, he's dead. The action of his writing is permanently finished. But we use the present perfect for Stephen King because he is still alive. The time period of his life is still open, meaning there's an ongoing potential for him to write even more. So, now that you've leveled up and conquered all the rules, those tricky exceptions, the golden rules of negatives, and even the abstract conditionals, I want to leave you with one final thought. Grammar isn't just about memorizing rules. It's a toolkit for expressing your reality. If you've mastered the past today, what will you imagine for tomorrow? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I challenge you to go out and build some amazing sentences.